This is USVI News, your Virgin Islands connection.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for USVI News. I'm Emily Matson. 2 people are charged with a violent home invasion and kidnapping on St. Croix last year. 18-year-old Manuel Perez and an unidentified teenager are both charged in the incident, which police say happened last August 30th when 3 masked men barged into an old Fredensborg home at 9:30 in the morning. The victim told investigators the armed men threatened him with a firearm and stole many valuables, including his video game player and phone. The victim was able to recognize their voices and ID'd 2 of the suspects. And this past Saturday, officers served search and arrest warrants, charging the 2 with lots of charges, including home invasion, kidnapping, and robbery. Investigators say Perez is in prison while the teen is at a youth rehab center. A man wanted for attempted murder in connection with a shooting on St. Thomas has turned himself into police. 25-year-old Dante Joseph is in jail under a $1 million bond. He's facing several charges, including attempted murder, assault, and many weapons charges. He turned himself into police on Saturday. He had been wanted for about a week for a shooting in Oswald Harris Court back on June 5th. Officers say he and another man got into a verbal fight, which became physical. Investigators say Joseph shot the other male several times. The victim was rushed to surgery that night and then flown to the mainland for further treatment. A requirement for airplane travelers to test negative for COVID-19 before entering the U.S. is no longer in effect. The Biden administration says vaccines and treatments was critical to this development, and the CDC will monitor it based on the science and in context of any circulating variants. The PreDeparture testing rules were lifted on Sunday, so now all travelers, regardless of vaccination status or citizenship, are no longer required to test within the day of travel into the United States. And as we begin a new week, COVID-19 cases have gone down significantly territory-wide. It is a continuing trend we're seeing here. Health officials are currently tracking 301 active COVID cases territory-wide, with the most significant amount still on St. Croix, with 230 active cases, 70 on St. Thomas right now, and just 1 current active case on St. Croix, or St. John, rather. Meantime, the first COVID-19 vaccinations for children under 5 could start as early as next week. But as parents wait for the final decision on vaccines for this age group, a rollout plan is already well underway. Here's more on what parents need to know.
It's what many parents have been waiting for, the protection of a COVID-19 vaccine for young children.
Realistically, it means we could see shots in arms of kids under 5 as early as the week of June 20th.
FDA vaccine advisors are set to meet this week to discuss authorizing emergency use of Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine for children ages 6 months through 5 years and Pfizer's vaccine for children 6 months through 4 years of age. Pending those decisions, the CDC will make final recommendations about the vaccines. But before that even happens, the White House says it's planning for all scenarios. Last week, 10 million vaccine doses were made available to pre-order for children under 5. Millions more will be ready to go in the coming weeks.
This approach allows us to seed communities with enough vaccine so that it is readily accessible and equitably distributed across the country.
While most parents are expected to seek a vaccine from their pediatrician, a senior administration official says additional vaccine clinics and sites will be set up at easy-to-access locations for parents, including pharmacies, schools, children's hospitals, diaper banks, community health centers, clinics, museums, libraries, and organizations serving minority communities across the country.
The White House says it's partnering with state and local governments, healthcare providers, federal pharmacy partners, and others to ship and distribute vaccines across the country. A new report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows consumer prices shot up 8.6% over the past year, a number not seen in almost 41 years. Michael George tells us what's fueling the big jump.
Record high gas prices are forcing some commuters to rethink their budget.
There's a lot of other things I can't do because I have to pay for gas.
And the cost of diesel is making it more expensive for trucking companies to ship goods to stores.
That will ultimately be reflected in the prices that the consumer pays. And that's part of the increase in the cost of food and everything else.
Food prices saw the biggest jump since 1981. Milk is up almost 16%. Chicken costs 17% more, and eggs soared 32%.
The Federal Reserve really needs to address this as quickly as possible.
CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger says the Federal Reserve is expected to once again raise interest rates, hoping it will ease price hikes. But the effect will likely take time.
How big an impact is this for Americans' bottom line?
Inflation touches every single American, but those who earn less, they feel the biggest brunt. The three categories of their lives where they spend the most money, which is shelter, food, and energy, those areas are rising.
The national average for gas is around $5 a gallon and could accelerate if bad weather disrupts offshore oil drilling.
It's not impossible that should we see a refinery snag or a major hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico, that we could see a national average hitting the $6 a gallon mark.
Prices are also fueled by demand, which is expected to stay high during the busy summer driving season.
Again, the feds are expected to raise interest rates sometime this week.